Hey folks, I've just wanted to share something I've been sitting with. It's been a while since I've created content on this particular theme, and I've been wanting to come back to it. Just my journey of healing childhood sexual trauma. And it's such an ongoing journey. I'm sure those of you who are also on a similar journey can resonate. There's just like chapters and chapters and chapters to it. Um, yeah, what I'm about to share is a bit raw, it's a bit exploratory, and it has to do with my politics content. I have a separate channel, you could call it. I mean, it's on my same YouTube channel, but separate podcast, separate theme of content where I record political content and write essays in support of President Trump, which is, yeah, quite an edge in this trauma healing community. And I get a lot of hatred, from community members, from strangers online. And my work in response to that has been noticing how deeply it reaches me. And I remember discussing this with one of my collaborators on the politics content, and it seemed like he was just able to shrug it off and move on. And that just not been the case with me. It's just like really reaches me intensely. Even though I've practiced and learned so many different energy clearing techniques, like I have 3 years of experience practicing different martial arts. I've like tapped into the energetic aspects of martial arts and feel fairly attuned to my energy body, and I do a lot of energy boundary practices. I think I'll link some of those, some meditations that have been like super helpful for me in the description. Comment below if I don't end up linking it. But the inquiry still remains, like, why does it hook into me so much? Why does someone someone I don't know, them getting triggered and angry with the content that I share, why does it affect me so much? And at moments it really feels debilitating. Like, how am I gonna live in the world if I'm bothered by other people's opinions of me so much? And it's almost like this challenge of choosing an expressive life. Like, I've chosen a life, or an expressive life has chosen me, whichever way you want to see it. And it's like, yeah, how do you stay expressing with and allow people to have the responses and reactions that they have? Because in some ways that is a part of their healing journey. And this is my adherence to the First Amendment that is coming through, like the right to free speech, like truly allowing everyone to express whatever is present for them is so critical for healing. Yeah, because in the act of expression, you can, at least I have experiences, I'm curious what it's like for you, I get better attuned to what is it that is expressing in me, and if that is actually something that needs to be expressed with the outer world, or if it is actually an inner expression that I need to hold within myself. And that has been a critical aspect of my own healing journey, and it's helped me refine my expression and refind it, like also find my expression again. So, yeah, as I was sitting with this, like a possibility that came up, and I share this with some hesitation, and I'll talk about the hesitation afterwards, is the question of repressed trauma and possibly sexual abuse by strangers. And here I want to be really clear. It's always important to hold the possibility, especially for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse, that not everything painful comes from repressed trauma, but sometimes when things hurt more than it seems reasonable for them to hurt in adult life, it's actually likely that it comes from some old wounds. Now, whether those wounds are already in your awareness or they're repressed, that is an exploration that only you can do. But yeah, if you assume the answer before you inquire, you cut off the exploration, and you cut yourself off from the richness of answers that exist in the present moment. So I'm holding that, and I'm still sitting with this possibility that the response and the pain I feel in response to hatred from internet strangers could be because, in addition to my grandfather and granduncle, there might have been like other men, perhaps their friends, who also partook in the sexual abuse I experienced. And yeah, there's more I want to share on this that I'll come back to towards the end of the video. Yeah, but there's some like real hatred in the act of sexually abusing a child. Like it's an act of hatred. Like there is other aspects to it, lust, which kind of drives it, but what is being expressed in that act is hatred. Um, yeah, so I had a moment on a phone call yesterday with someone that I have had deep emotional intimacy with, and yeah, I was really feeling this like heavy contraction in my heart and chest and left shoulder region. And I just shared that with her, and there is a specific person in the broader local community, someone I actually have never met, don't even know who he is, who had started posting a lot of hateful, angry comments across my public posts, and it really hurt. And yeah, I was sharing that with her, and I just, yeah, my response to angry outbursts these days in my life is just boundary work. Like if someone is coming at you angrily, they, at the essence of anger is actually a desire to connect, but you don't need to be the person who acquiesces to that desire to connect. I really think like the only right response to anger is boundaries and de-escalation. um, and as I say that, it's like whatever is the truth of your inner response is the truth of your inner response. But my spiritual work at this stage in my life is just, if someone is angrily coming at me, that is just, I just don't um, make space for that, hold space for that. They're just boundary works. And so I've been practicing boundaries and resisting the urge to react. And part of this has been the freedom to block people on the internet. And that's something so beautiful about the internet, that you can just, with a couple of clicks of a button, you can just block someone, and they're out. You can like truly create a space for your expression on the internet, and the internet is expansive enough that each of us can have space for our expressions. And there are some side subjects that we can go into around bubbles and polarization, but I won't get to that yet in this video. But yeah, it took me a while to acknowledge that I have agency in blocking people who are refusing to engage compassionately, and also block people who I get triggered by and feel the urge to react. And it's like I don't need that energy, and they don't need my energy. I don't need their angry energy. They don't need my angry energy. And let's only connect to the extent that we can hold compassion. And I think if everyone, especially in these polarized times, if everyone held that perspective, like, oh, I'm gonna connect with humans to the extent that I can maintain compassion, I really think it could dissolve this polarized, um, hateful aspects of our society, both online and offline. Um, and as I was doing this work, I noticed that there were parts of me that wanted to beat him up because, yeah, there was that extra aggravation. Like, he appeared very weak to me, like physically weak. And there was a part of me that was going, how does someone so weak feel so emboldened to throw hatred on the internet? Is it because he's just behind a keyboard? Because we live in the same town, and is it that when people throw hate on the internet, they assume that it won't come back at them in the physical realm, either directly from the person that they are? I don't know. What if I was like a Harley Davidson gang member or something, like someone who's more in that domain of just more open to crime. Like, you never know who could be behind the usernames on the internet. Like, you have no idea. So I really feel sometimes surprised how openly people throw hatred at each other on the internet, because not only do you not know what kind of person it is reaching, like what if the person you're hating on Reddit, just throwing an angry comment, it turns out to be like a crazy serial killer or something. Um, hmm. And more broadly at the karmic level, yeah, any angry comments that you speak out will come back at you at some level or the other. Yes, I just wonder. And there's a part of me that was wondering, is he reading my writing and thinking I'm like making judgments about him personally? Like, how could I be? I don't even know him. I'm sharing about society, not about individual people. And as I say that, yeah, it has been my work to weave in this awareness of the impact it might have on the humans who are reading my essays or watching my content. And there's a very tender thread of exploration there of how to surface judgments, because we truly live in the society where um, there's a lot of humans who often collapse into shame when they see judgments which may not be even about them, but there's a tendency to just like retract and collapse into shame when judgmental sentences are read. But hey guys, is it possible to express things about society without surfacing judgments? Like, I don't know. Because sometimes when I see spiritual wisdom that is disconnected from current affairs, and it's like a beautiful truck that just showed up. Gorgeous truck. Um, yeah, sometimes when I completely got distracted. Ah, where were we? Sometimes, sometimes I can be oblivious to the impact that my writing and content can have, especially on the thread of politics, on the people reading it, which is an edge for me. Like I think it shows like a lack of attunement to the global sphere or something, and it has been my work to create content in a way that navigates the minefield of trigger spaces. I think I don't need to do it, but I think it is a good aim to have like content that reaches everyone's heart while still staying connected to the reality of the physical society that we live in. Because when spiritual content is disconnected from the reality of this physical society that we live in, I actually think it encourages dissociation, disconnection, numbing. Um, and we are at a time where, yeah, I really think it is critical to speak to the specific events happening so that people know what kind of love you're talking about when you talk about, use the word love, because it just means so many different things. So yeah, it's still important to hold that there is an impact whether I intend it or not. So yeah, it felt good to just block him, and after blocking him, I had these, it also spurred these moments of introspection of like, why am I even in these group threads or public spaces where this kind of interaction can happen? Is this the frequency I want to be in, or could I invest my energy somewhere else? So I left some group threads, and I'm grateful for that moment of introspection. Yeah, so I left. Um, but it did bring a lot of painful introspection. Like this kind of introspection is never easy. Yeah, it can be painful. It got so painful that I had some suicidal flashes, which are just these like flashes of how I could end my agony by taking my own life. And yeah, they were like minute, like, and I haven't had a suicidal flash in a long time. But at this point, I've learned to accept um, these as a sign that I'm touching a deep, perhaps new layer of trauma. Because whenever I get to a new layer, some young part of me feels so overwhelmed that it just wants to exit. Um, yeah, and back to this phone call that I was on, in the middle of that, on this phone call, I said to her, yeah, it just feels like one thing after another. And she smiled, like I could feel her like smiling, and I could feel her resonance with it because, she has a similar life. And in that moment, I just felt so witnessed, and I felt this like huge weight release from my body, like the contraction in my heart and chest and shoulder that I was speaking about. And yeah, just felt so much better. And this has been my practice with grief lately. Instead of binge eating or addictive porn use like I used to do in the past, I'm now able to find a way to crying. And when I cry, there is this like deep, massive release. And sometimes insights come through in that moment. And the insight that I'm sitting with now is, yeah, I wonder if I have repressed memories of sexual abuse by strangers, because the wound feels so specific. This agony of, why is this person who I don't even know hating me so much? And that was exactly the feeling I had with my family too, like the relatives who raped me. Like, why is my grandfather hating me so much? I had this, especially with my granduncle, like, why is this granduncle hating me so much? Because the memory I recovered with him was one where I could see his face and I could feel the hatred in his body as he was sodomizing like 5 or 6 year old me. And it is interesting to notice that this wound holds this wondering of, why are these people hating me so much? It's like an orientation to understand people who are doing objectively horrible things to you. And in those moments, instead of being able to say, hey, you're doing something wrong, there was this collapse inward of like, what did I do to deserve this? And why are you doing this? And that is the essence of the boundary collapse that happens in abuse. Instead of saying, no, I don't want this, there is either what did I do to deserve this, and why is this person treating me so horribly? And then in that, there is a connection. Like, in order to explore those answers, I need to stay connected with the person. And I see this in so many relationships that have abuse patterns in them, that instead of just holding the boundary firmly like a shield, there is this like, what did I do to you to deserve this? And why are you doing this to me? And but that curiosity is a trap, because in order to resolve that curiosity, you have to stay connected to the pain. And yeah, acknowledge here that there is nuances of perception that might be like, you might be perceiving something incorrectly, like you might be perceiving someone being horrible towards you, but they're actually not, and yet you're still like caught up in the connection with them. If you explore these curiosities of what am I doing to deserve it, and why are they acting in that way. But instead, you could follow a life where you just trust your perception. Oh, this is actually horrible, and then just like like set up boundaries. Like, actually, no, I don't want to engage in this way. Like, I don't want to have angry engagement. Um, I could be open to other things, but like when I'm sharing something painful, I don't want anger. If I'm sharing something vulnerably, I don't want anger. Like, that's a boundary that I've set up. Yeah, it feels important to name, like, the boundary collapse of abuse is this. Like, instead of putting up a boundary, you go into this inquiry, which maintains the relational connection. And yeah, I'm not saying I have the full answer. I think this, I'm just exploring, and grateful to have space to even be in the inquiry now. And if you're sitting with similar feelings, know you're not alone. And if you have explored similar aspects of boundary collapse, yeah, I'm curious to hear what your journey has been with regards to regaining your agency to hold boundaries. And I must note here, it's important to note that the way I look at boundaries is, it's not about controlling someone else's actions, it's controlling the extent to which I want to engage with someone. So it's like deciding what level of intimacy I want to be in with someone, and stepping back. And it's been an important, really helpful journey to not eject in response to a perceived boundary violation, but like step down one level in intimacy, um, like from lovers to platonic intimacy to community members to, so like really like step that down. um, and that's where, like, if it's a stranger and there is an angry interaction, then block. There's no engagement, like we don't have any connection, so there is not going to be any like processing and engagement. So by having these like hierarchies of intimacy and deciding, okay, this is the intimacy we are in, let's step down. And I've noticed with humans who have just better attunement and are not like seeking entanglement, it's they meet me in this like de-escalation of intimacy. Like, I had a connection this week where we were trying to connect on a video call or something, and it just wasn't feeling that great to both of us, and I just named it. I'm like, hey, like actually we are not in the same location, and I'm not cultivating remote friendships. So I wish you well, but I just wanted to name that this is not feeling that great, and I'm actually also not desiring to continue trying. And she really met me in that. She was like, yeah, like I also feel the crunchiness, and I love that she used that word. I love that word. Yeah, there's some crunchiness. Uh, and yeah, we don't need to crunch on it. We can take a step back, and we're still connected on social media, and I feel clean towards her. I hope she feels clean towards me. Yeah, but with humans who are vibrating at a similar frequency, it is actually possible to meet in naming what is not working and together deciding to step down, and then there is no like push pull, emotionally dramatic, draining dynamics. And in order to get there, you first have to really soothe the parts of you that are enjoying being in the drama. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and yeah, please like, subscribe, share if this lands for you.